Well, howdy, and welcome back once again to the Withlacoochee River Railroad and the Withlacoochee River Report. Let's get on the other side of the intro and we'll talk about it. Well, not a whole lot in the news this week. I ended up working all week, which of course precluded having me come out here. It's been a hot week. I mean, it was quite hot having to work in that lumber yard, you know, doing cleanup work. So I thought, okay, it's nice and cool here on Saturday morning. Had quite a bit of rain this morning. Everything's nice and wet out there, so I won't be mowing the lawn today. Might mow it tomorrow. I'm going to have to mow it tomorrow. And if I'm not working Monday, I'll mow it on Monday. Boy, does that lawn need mowing. It's already, I mean, it saw that water come in. That grass just shot up this morning. Well, so far I really haven't carried out any plans on the railroad. But I thought I'd come out and run a train or two this morning. Turns out that with some of these older AC powered engines, like my old Williams F units, they don't like to run much with DC. I already blew a power pack up with it. It runs fine. There's nothing. It won't hurt the motors or anything. The problem is with all the older electronics, they have a tendency to really pull the current. So I thought, well, since I've got the AC power pack hooked back up to the layout, I'll go ahead and just run the one that would never move under DC power, and that's this RS3. It's been a while since I've run my RS3, been wanting to run it anyway. But that's part of the fun of model railroading, isn't it? We get to experiment a little bit and get to figure things out. I've got DC power packs out the yin yang. Then I've got two CW80s. By the way, my MTH engines, which that's one that's running there off of a CW80, but with my other CW80, it won't go anywhere there with that one either. But I wanted to run a little Penzi power this morning, so I did. I still haven't decided yet whether I'm going to fix those cars up to run on the railroad or not. I probably will, and go ahead and maybe get some decals and change the numbers, change the car numbers. Looks like I got a bunch of hopper cars that got to be weathered up. I still got tons of rolling stock that need to be weathered. I want to get started on the scenery sometime. Of course, I'd love to be able to get started on changing out the track work. But then again, I'm also thinking, okay, what if I take and do like I did over here with the bridge, where I didn't want roadbed going through the bridge, so I used a piece of Gargrave's track through the bridge, and it works fine. And since I've got Gargrave's running off the yard here, and on the passing track, I wonder if I could take and maybe put those Gargrave's turnouts into the main line there and just keep the fast track. I may do that. I'm kind of getting, kind of getting used to having my fast track there. And I wouldn't have to worry about the curvature change as well, so that's just something to maybe take into consideration. And, of course, it'd be cheaper economically speaking, since I wouldn't be taking and having to put a whole bunch more money into anything that I can't really afford to do right now. So, that brings up the term economics. Let's get into it. Well, here we are again. The economics of model trains. Yes, it was never meant to be a cheap hobby. I know for many years there, we were able to pick up, well, good grief, for a number of years, I'd say from the late 1950s right on into the 1990s, Athearn Blue Box diesels were the go-to diesel. Steam engines, well, good grief, when I was growing up, we were able to get steam engines at Woolco and Woolworth from AHM. So, we had our steam engines, we had our diesels, we had pretty much any piece of rolling stock we wanted in those days. Again, you would purchase the AHM stuff at like Woolco or Woolworth stores. Remember those? Yeah, we had one in downtown Denver that took up a city block, had 3 levels. It had a couple of 5-star restaurants in it. This was a Woolworth store. It also had the lunch counter, it had a delicatessen, and it had another cafe. So that was a big store. Big store. It had 3, like I said, it had, the basement level, which was where the toy department was, because that's where I hung out. Then I go up to the deli. They made pizza there from scratch. They used to make pizza. I miss those days. That was some good eating in those days. I miss those days. But you go and your average steam engine, even though they were more money than I had most of the time when I was growing up, Dad would buy me an engine every once in a while. Dad would never buy me a diesel. I guess my dad hated diesels. I kind of fell in love with the internal combustion engine, as I grew up. And my very first model diesel was a Nathern SD45. I thought that was and it was done up in the EMD demo colors. I thought, oh, that is cool. You know, I was young then. And as I got more into it, I got to where I really liked the diesels. And I like diesels now. I prefer, in fact, even though I love steam engines, I prefer diesels most of the time. Economically speaking, your diesels, a lot less expensive than a steam engine for sure, especially if you're talking Lionel, MTH, or what's that other, Atlas. Atlas doesn't make too many steam engines. And I got to hand it to Atlas. They made that consolidation. They made it fairly cost effective for a steam engine, because I think a Lionel steam engine like that would have been over $900 or $1,000, just over $1,000. And they had it for like $850 or something like that. And it was a pretty nice one. And what it was the old Weaver consolidation. And I think Atlas did a bang up job bringing it out, but I don't have $850, so I can't afford it, and so I won't be getting one. I don't have $500 or $600 for a diesel either. Most of my engines in fact, every single engine I got used. I don't have any legacy engines, because they would be way overpriced for what I could get. I do have a couple of PS engines. I have my PS1 RS3 that you just saw running. I got that one for $60. Now it's only PS1, but it's a nice runner. It runs and it makes its noises. I've got my PS2 RS1, which is I know to be a full-scale engine. Both of them are Rail King, but the RS1 is a scale engine. It runs beautifully too. I love the way it runs, and they run great on the AC power pack. I got to admit, my little experiments with DC power, while they worked, they only worked about halfway. And one thing that my RS3 will never run with DC power, not in the configuration. If I unconfigure all of the PC board, take the PC boards out and just wire it direct, yeah, it would run fine on DC. It's got 2 DC motors in it. Last week I had a power pack go into overload, running my Lackawanna F units. Well, there's so much in the way of electronics inside that F unit that, yeah, it's eating up power. It's pulling a lot of current for a locomotive. Now, again, if I ran those down and wired them to run strictly on DC, and took the PC boards out of the equation, then it probably wouldn't pull near the current. The CAN motors probably don't pull that much current, even together. But thinking of the economics of model railroading, I cannot afford to go to Dana's Railroad Supply and order anything from the Lionel catalog. It's just way too expensive for me. Now, that doesn't mean I don't support my local hobby dealer. I do. I'll go in there and I'll buy roadbed, I'll buy scenery supplies, and sometimes I'll buy this or that. Or if he comes up with a decent price on a used item, sometimes I'll come up, I'll cough up the money for that. But, yeah, I mean, it's basically getting to where I just can't afford to, buy much at the hobby shop anymore. Buildings are, I've been lucky to get a few buildings. Of course, mostly stations. I've got plenty of stations. I don't need any more stations. I picked up that Hall of Handsome barbershop at the show a couple of weeks ago. I got it. The guy was asking $20 for it. Well, that's a Menards. I mean, what does it go for brand new? I got it for 15. The guy was asking 20. He was happy to let it go. I didn't know it was a Menards. I thought it was one of those Department 56 from the looks of it. No, it's a Menards building. And it's a pretty nice one. Nicely detailed, too. And I imagine it lights up. It's got all the stuff with it to light it up. You know, this is where train shows really do it for me. Most of my rolling stock I've gotten from train shows. In fact, virtually all of it I've gotten from train shows. I think I bought one piece of rolling stock from Dana at Dana's Railroad Supply. And that's the only time I paid anywhere near retail for it. And even he was, he even had it at a discount. So, I don't pay retail for hardly anything. Most everything, most of my cars I get $5, $10, maybe $20 a piece. Sometimes I get them for a lot less. What was it? This last show over here, Zitnik had 3 boxed, an Atlas and 2 AHM box cars, $4 each. They were sitting on his $4 table. I thought, great. I took them right then and there. I wasn't going to turn that down. I did put those AHM box cars because I've already got one. I put those Southern Pacific boxcars on the table and just put $10 a piece on them. Figured, hey, somebody may want to buy them. Well, nobody did, so I've got them at home, and I may be putting KD couplers on them here before too long. And new numbers, of course, so that, I can have a whole train of Southern Pacific boxcars, basically. I couldn't beat the price on them. And they're still new in the box. You can run into deals like that all the time. And, of course, now we're going into summer, and I'm going to be missing my my train shows for the summer. It's not that there aren't any train shows in the area during the summer, just not really local. I would have to go, I think there's probably going to be one in Pinellas Park. Might be one in St. Pete. I don't know. But, we're not going to necessarily see any. Where it gets political. Now we're going to start seeing price increases due to tariffs, probably. And yeah, I know. I watched the What's Neat This Week podcast with Ken Patterson, and he said first thing he gets, this is all about the tariffs, but it's not political, dude. It's always been political. Politics affects every facet of your life, even your hobby. Don't think it don't. It will affect every facet of your life. Politics and even religion, or yeah, the so-called religion of peace will affect every facet of your life if you let it. But politics especially will always affect your life, and it even affects your hobbies. Your hobby of model railroading. Oh, you get away from it to get away from the pressures of politics. Yes, you get into a hobby to maybe get away from it, but you're never really truly getting away from politics. It's always there. It's always there. Do I agree with the tariffs? it's, if we've been getting screwed on tariffs all this time and we can't, I sat there and I watched NAFTA literally destroy our industrial base in this nation over the years. And, while we weren't hitting them with tariffs, they were damn sure hitting us with them. So, yeah, we were getting ripped. We're getting ripped by these other countries and have been for a long time. Now, all Donald Trump's trying to do is turn the tables a little bit. He says his goal is to get it to zero tariffs. And that I would agree with. Because if we can have good, honest, free trade, it's good for everybody all the way around. And especially for people who need jobs, things like that. And that's one of the things we've needed in this country for a while. I would love to have a job. Well, maybe. I'm kind of retired now, but if I could make enough money, yes, I'd be out there buying Lionel trains. New ones. I'd be buying, actually, I've gotten to where I really like the MTH better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I would love to buy, and MTH, their premier steam engines are just gorgeous. I love them. Third rail, well, what isn't to love about third rail? Everybody loves the third rail stuff. I know I do. Third rail also makes some fantastic diesels. But again, the economics of it dictate that I cannot afford that. I just don't make that much money. I never have. I guess it was never in my in my stars to be able to afford brass engines, things like that. Yeah. But I'm sitting there and I'm watching the prices of stuff go so high and get so out of reason on certain things. And the inflation does not, in the United States, for some reason, the politicians never saw that there was a need to, keep the wages up with inflation. So, the minimum wage never went up. What was it? We had inflation during the 90s. We had inflation during the 80s, of course, but we definitely, we live in a progressive society, or in a progressive economy, and that progressive economy will always eat at your dollar, and of course destroy the buying power over time. It's always done that. Now we're talking possible collapse of our currency. I'm hearing it more and more. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean, we might be able to save it for a few more years, but you've got forces out there that are doing everything they can to collapse our economy, to collapse our currency. And, other nations, yeah, we've got the petrodollar, but if these other nations decide to go somewhere else and go with the euro or whatever's available, then the dollar's going to sink. The dollar's going to be done. And on that day, and of course I'm thinking more and more, maybe I should be looking more and more into this cryptocurrency. And, there's cryptocurrencies you can invest in for pennies, and then watch it grow. There's scams out there too, so let's not kid ourselves. There's also scams. But, maybe invest your money in assets instead of model trains. Probably be a good idea. But I mean, one thing that could kill our hobby, because we all care about this hobby, and it's affected too, just like anything else. Going to the grocery store and there's no food there, well, yeah, think about that. That can definitely affect your hobby. Going to the grocery store and there's no food on the shelves. Yeah, that's, if the dollar collapses, you're going to be worried more about eating than you are about getting model trains. So yeah, it could destroy our hobby. It could destroy everything that we've worked for. Like I said, I remember the day, when for many years you could get into this hobby for as much as you wanted to spend or as little as you wanted to spend. Now, I try to get into it for as little as I can possibly spend. It's like I said, what do I look for the first time, when I go into a train show? I'm looking around to see what's there, number one. Okay. I'm looking, okay, my tables need to restock a little bit. Let me see what I can find. Or if we're at the end of the season, I'm not wanting to pack anything up and take it home. I've got my, I had my freight cars, my HO freight cars down to $1 a car. Boxed and unboxed, it doesn't matter. Down to $1 a car. So, you figure on that. You'd think, well, they're going to blow out. Well, no, they haven't blown out yet. I still got a ton of freight cars and no dollars to show for them. But I've made my money on them. I've made my money on them, so I can't really complain. We had a pretty decent year, train show wise, but I do need to restock my tables. I need stuff to put on my tables. I need a little of this and a little of that. That's all I need. Stuff that people might find interest in. Okay. But I also want to keep my railroad stocked up. I'm always looking for new engines and stuff. I'm always looking for new rolling stock. Hence, on this last show, I found 3 pieces of rolling stock, $4 a piece. Then I went back to Zitnik later and spent $20 and bought an MTH hopper car with the load. I think I did more with MTH with Zitnik trains this time than at any other time, because, well, basically the guys that I normally dealt with for buying rolling stock, neither one of them were there. John, my buddy John, wasn't there because, well, he gave up the night before because they couldn't get in because some car show was trying to block them out and saying there wasn't going to be a train show. When, yeah, there was, and it was scheduled and it was on the docket, And these, but like I said, the first thing I do is I look around at everybody else's tables, see what's coming up. I mean, if it's people I know, pretty much know what they've got. Then I kind of, you kind of looking for the guy that's trying to sell out. I remember this one guy I knew, he got a beautiful G-gauge doodlebug, $25. New in the box. He got it for $25 because the couple that were selling off all their G-scale stuff, their G-gauge stuff. And this was right over here at Dana's. And he got that thing so cheap, and he was trying to sell, they were just trying to sell it off to get rid of it because they were going back to the UK. They were going back to England. Okay, so they didn't want to live in the United States anymore. So he was trying to sell stuff off that, why would you want to move it over there if you're not going to have any use for it? Makes sense to me. Anyway, he got that for $25. That doodle bug. And it was cool. I offered him $25 for it. He wouldn't take it. Can't imagine why. But that's the kind of guys I'm looking for. I'm looking for the lady there who's trying to sell off her husband's trains because he passed away. Now, I realize that she's probably going to be charging a little bit more, but within reason, I'll deal with her. If she's going to be unreasonable, no, I ain't going to deal with them. Or if I don't have the money, I obviously ain't going to deal with them. The lady that sold me my RS1, she was at this last show. And her friend. And I guess her husband had passed away between the first... Because her husband was still alive, but in the hospital when I got the RS1. And that's been like just right about a year before. And... I kind of looked for her at other shows, and, well, she wasn't at the other shows. Well, I ran into her again at this show here in Brooksville and talked to her, and she was getting a little bit higher on her prices, but she was figuring it out. She was looking to see what they were averaging, each item was averaging on eBay, for instance, based on the stock number on the end of the boxes, because... And she was hitting it with about half the price. What it's going on. Which is, yeah, that's reasonable. Very reasonable. I didn't have money to buy anything from her, and I wished I did. Because I could have gotten some resale items as well. But, hey, that's the way the economy works sometimes. Is model railroading going to die anytime soon? As long as we keep the economy going, no. Even if we go through a reset, it probably won't die right off the bat. However, these are things that, just things that you ponder. Just things that you ponder. You think about them. You can never really quite get away from the politics, even though you'd like to. But, what can I say? Till next time. I gotta get some scenery on this railroad here pretty soon. Until next time, hope I have a little more news for you next time. Happy railroading.